going live on Twitter, and it is not allowing me to go live on Twitter. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're here. I'm live with Dr. Crystal Heath. This is Skyjack Morgan. We're going to do All Beings Considered. Talking about veterinary students and turkeys today. I'm excited about it. I know Dr. Crystal Heath is always excited to do All Beings Considered with me.
What do you mean by that?
You're always excited to do it. I know this is your favorite day of the week.
That's a weird thing to say because one thing about me is I never get excited about anything.
I'm not going to tell other people that.
Gaslighting, honestly. Are you
not
gaslighting?
Not at all. I was trying to gaslight the crowd, like all the people watching. Yeah. It was an attempted gaslighting of the audience.
We don't gaslight people here. We don't manipulate. We are very objective and professional, and we don't blow smoke up people's asses.
But it does make. How about it was an affirmation, like a daily affirmation. You know how a lot of people, they look at and they look in the mirror and they say, you know what, people want to talk to you. You're an interesting person. People are excited to hear what you have to say.
The one thing people should not expect from me is excitement or me being excited about anything. They should expect professional, objective facts and interesting stories, but they're not going to get excitement. And if you expect excitement from me, you're going to be very disappointed.
Expectations definitely are nothing to be, expectations just set one up for disappointment. But I like to just believe that our time spent together on All Beings Considered, is inspires mutual excitement. And
no, you won't. Sorry. You're not going to get excitement from me.
Not apparent excitement. I just in my imagination, allow me to have I can imagine whatever I'd like. That Crystal's very happy to do this with me this week. And I think you know what? I think deep down somewhere you are, because we're going to talk about some interesting stuff today. We're going to talk about about AB 411 in California, about the calves not being in their compliant crates. We're going to talk about new paper published with your name on it. Talk about some FOIA stuff. We're going to talk about some turkeys on Thanksgiving. I think those are exciting topics.
It's
maybe
weird,
I'm alone in that.
Facebook isn't playing. Let's see if I can get this Facebook working here.
Your Facebook and your Twitter, neither of them are working right now. We are live on.
My Twitter looks like it's working on my end.
Oh, I have red exclamation points. Cool. Well, while you're figuring out the Facebook thing, I would like to share with everybody that Our Honor is an incredible organization. It's unique in the animal advocacy world because it is led by veterinarians, and it's mostly targets veterinarians to follow their consciousness or helps them follow the conscious, encourages them. And right now, Our Honor has a matching donor. And speaking of excitement, I'm excited because it matches up to $25,000 of donations, and it means every penny that you throw our way to our nonprofit, Our Honor, means that money will be doubled. It's a wonderful time in this season of giving to consider going to ourhonor.org/donate. So, am I allowed to be excited about that? I'm excited about that.
I'm not going to prevent you from feeling whatever
Thank you
feel. But I'm also not going to let you project emotions onto me that don't exist.
That's why the neuron, what do you call those, mirror neurons exist, isn't it? So that I can do that, like just alone. I can imagine everyone's excited.
You got to be careful. As a man, do not project what some woman feels about you or a situation when she might actually not be feeling that. So be very careful, everybody out there.
Don't project your emotions or excitement on others.
Indeed, because that's how you get into trouble. And don't try to emotionally manipulate people.
That's for sure, unless it's an audience and it's your job as a podcaster to do so.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's I think we should stay away from emotionally manipulating people, and instead we should make people aware of how different personalities and marketing emotionally manipulates them. I think
Mm.
people are more, we're all about critical thinking here.
We
We're
are.
not about emotional manipulation. We're not about pandering. We're not about playing on people's emotions. And I think we're all about teaching people how others do that
Yeah.
and why they should be aware of those systems that will emotionally manipulate them, and people who will emotionally manipulate them, and the strategies they use and how they can combat it and use critical thinking and think for themselves.
All of that in an entertaining package. So, Crystal, Dr. Heath, would you I would think I just think that there is a carve out for entertainment. I think entertainment is in itself somewhat of an artifice. You know, there's some kind of a presentation, and without it, then everything is kind of dry and boring. I mean, even you turn on the charm a little bit on podcasts and interviews. I think we all kind of do that. You know, at least put on your telephone voice. You know, that's a bit of a projection, don't you think?
That's interesting. No, I think I'm pretty much the same no matter where I am. But that's just me.
I don't think you are. I think everyone thinks they're the same no matter what, but you can hear.
Although if I was sitting by myself alone, I would be not talking. So the
That's
only thing
true.
that's different is I am talking instead of not talking.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So
Although sometimes when you and I are talking and then you get on the phone and talk to someone else, you seem happier. So that makes
weird. Maybe it's
ev-
because I'm talking to somebody
I
else.
think it's either that or you have a telephone voice, but I won't be offended either way. Dr. Heath, this week we've been talking a lot about AB 411, and that's that California thing, right? I mean, California AB, I think, is Assembly Bill, right? State Assembly Bill 411. And it's gonna get voted on for the some kind of smaller group of the assembly is gonna vote on it. Can you kind of catch me up and what that all means?
So AB 411 is the attempt by the cattle industry to allow
Yeah.
mortalities to be composted on their land. And they want to do this because, cows are dying in record numbers from maybe the heat right now. I don't know. I just visited the Central Valley to see how the cows were faring in the heat. And I saw bodies left out for rendering trucks to pick up. I saw trucks or tractors carrying bodies, dragging bodies. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of cows were dying. We know that cows suffer heat stress when severe heat stress when the temperature humidity index reaches between 90 and 99 degrees. And it
Mm-hmm.
was far higher than that in the Central Valley when I went there. So we are thinking these facilities are having increasing mortalities, whether it be the weather, whether it be disease, whether it be something else, and the rendering companies aren't able to pick up the slack. Maybe not, or maybe they just don't want to pay the $115 it costs to have a rendering truck come and pick up these bodies.
Ooh, is that what it costs? $115 a cow, or
Well,
what's the?
I don't know. That's an old number. That might be different now. If anybody has a new number, I'd be happy to be corrected on that. But that's something that I was quoted in the past.
So
And it costs,
those rendering companies got a pretty good racket going. For $115. They get paid, or whatever it may be. Let's call it 115 for argument's sake, right? They get a little bill. Let's call it a C note, and they come out and they pick up the dead animals and they take them back to the rendering facility, turn them into goo and other various odds and ends, and then they are able to sell those products. So rendering companies seems like they got a decent thing going if you can stomach the stench.
yeah. And right now, the rendering companies are the only ones opposing this bill. And this bill was crafted based on a study done of just 4 cattle carcasses.
Mm.
And they say that it's fine to render based on 4 cattle carcasses. Now, 42
Not render,
states
compost. It's find a compost based on.
compost. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
compost these
Just want to
bodies.
keep the record straight. You set me straight earlier. I got to make sure that we are minding our P's and Q's on this episode.
Absolutely. And 42 states allow rendering already. Why or composting? I'm sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. Composting why not in California is because we have a lot more mammals than other
Yeah.
states, and our Central Valley aquifer is especially vulnerable to this. We already have high nitrates in our Central Valley aquifer from agricultural runoff.
Right.
There's also concern about disease, like chickens and plant material don't have the prion diseases like BSE. They don't have anthrax.
Mm.
All of these things that are concerning. And this bill says like, oh, you're not allowed to compost these bodies that are diseased. But we already know that these cow facilities aren't testing. I mean,
Yeah.
how do we know whether this cow died of avian influenza or something else if we're not doing enough testing? So
That's
that's
so important, but I guess you could say the same thing about rendering, right? You don't know how much that was. I remember during the bovine spongiform encephalitis. Is that what it stands for? BSE?
Encephalopathy.
Encephalopathy. Encephalopathy. Last time, back in the late 90s, early 21st century, everyone was worried about gelatin, even though I know gelatin, the prions don't make it through the process and everything. But it was a concern, I remember, and however misplaced. And they're not testing the cows, I guess, at all, right? When they die, they don't test what they died of. They just put them on the side of the road.
Only in very rare cases do they.
Yeah. Disabled veteran asks they should provide shade for the cows. I don't
They
know.
do provide shade for the cows. That's what I mean. I've seen many facilities where there are pens where there isn't shade, but
Yeah.
most facilities, most cows do have shade, do have misters, do have soakers, do have fans, but that's not enough to combat the heat. And I took videos when I was in the Central Valley of cows with the fans and the misters and all of the things, and their respiratory rates are greater than 60 breaths per minute. So
yeah,
that
cows are worse off than
wasn't
us,
enough.
right? Because they die. Well, they experience heat exhaustion, heat stress at an earlier temperature than we do. And I remember, remember the Joe Arpaio jail where he made them wear pink striped pajamas and stand out in the desert under those steel structures, and people were getting heat stroke out there, and they had fans, but that's all. I mean, you can't be standing in the shade in the desert and expect to survive.
And cows like are creating massive quantities of milk. So that is
Right.
a high metabolic load on them, and they suffer, at lower temperatures than the heifers do.
Yeah.
Um,
So it says build them a watering hole. Most of them do. Like the ones that I've seen have watering little
mm,
wells. A lot of them have
I
little ponds where
I haven't
water's
seen
collected.
that on dairies. I've
Not
seen
dairies.
manure lagoons,
Yeah.
but yeah, usually there is just one water trough per pen, and they are fighting over the water
Yeah.
usually. And there's like one big cow like hoarding the water, which isn't great.
Mm.
But there's also a drought in California, and misting cows waste a lot of water. So that's something to be concerned about too.
Waste a lot of water, and water's not cheap either. It's yeah, it's no good. What I was thinking is like when I see the grazing cattle out there, not dairies. I've seen them. They have usually a river or some kind of creek or a diverted pond or something where they have. I think it's just because they don't want to go out there and have to water the cows. But dairies is a very different thing. They're on this dirt patch, and it's
Yeah.
the only thing that's wet out there is poop and pee. It's not a good look. It's nothing nice about what's going on out there.
So people might say, but composting cows, that's like the most natural thing in the world.
Yeah, what gives? I
Why?
thought that I can compost things like my coffee grounds and then put them on my flower pots and they grow better. What's the deal,
Isn't that
Dr.
like
Heath?
more natural than like
Yeah.
trucking these bodies across the state to a
Hmm.
rendering company where they're going to be treated with chemicals and all of this stuff? But we're talking about such massive numbers of animals that yes, it's not just like letting wildlife compost. We're talking about large quantities that So that's a problem.
And
So what
large
do we
animals too. They're larger than most wildlife out there in Tulare. Like, what's the
Yeah.
largest wild animal out in the middle of California?
And yeah, sure, there used to be buffalo, but now there are far more cows than there ever were buffalo. So it's like a very unnatural system.
Yeah. Did we
So
really
it's
have
not,
bison out here in California? I didn't know that.
I don't know if they're all the way out here or
If they
not.
made it all the way out here. Maybe they probably did, because on this, yeah, you're probably right. I just don't think they made it to this side of the mountains, but I think you're right. Yeah, we did have bison, but yeah, they didn't. We didn't have. There was a lake there when there were bison running around. There was a thing called Tulare Lake that, before, when there
Y-
were bison around. That lake's gone.
Yeah, that lake's still on. It was drained by J.G. Boswell and all of the agriculture people who came in there
Mhm.
and drained that lake and took away the wildlife and the food source for the Tachiyuka tribe that was there. And
Yeah.
yeah, now it's all. And now, like, the Central Valley is actually lowering in elevation because we're just sucking that aquifer dry and we're not allowing it to recharge. So that makes it more vulnerable to flooding, which we saw in 2023 with massive floodings and billions of dollars of damage to the dairy industry and agriculture industry. So, and it's going to happen again. And imagine you're composting thousands of bodies and there's a flood and they're going to be dislodged and floating
Oof.
away,
It'll
these
be like
dead bodies.
Katrina. Remember, because
Yeah.
in New Orleans, a lot of them they bury people above ground in those mausoleums, and the hurricane came, and all these bodies were floating down the street. Ugh! Think of the disaster then. That's going to be really
Exactly.
disgusting. But doctor, let me back up for a second. AB 411. What's the point? Is there some major call for composting? Who's pushing this, and why all of a sudden am I hearing about this? Like, out of nowhere, we want to compost cows. We've been, presumably, the rendering truck has been coming fairly reliably over the last, I don't know, however many decades. What's the deal? All of a sudden, they want to start burying
Well,
cows
temperatures
in
are
massive ditches.
rising in Tulare.
Wait,
We've
start over
seen
again. What? I think I sorry.
temperatures are rising in Tulare and the Central Valley in general because of climate change. I can turn up my gain if
No, no,
if
I
that's
was
better
talking
for you.
at the same time as
Oh,
when I just didn't hear the word temperature, and I was thinking, well, the next thing she says, I'm going to want to clip, and then I spoke at the same time as you did, and I was like,
okay.
dang it. So could you start over for me in case I want to clip what you say next?
Yeah, so temperatures are rising in Tulare, and that means that potentially more cows are dying. We've already had to declare emergencies that allowed these corporations to compost bodies on their property because of these heat waves that led to thousands of cows dying. So they just want to get around that and not have to go through this whole emergency declaration thing and just allow cows to be
Mm.
composted without, having to do all of that. So that's, I think, one reason why they're doing this.
What about the rendering facilities? They must have something to say about it. They're perfectly all right with someone coming in on their business and changing it all up. Like, if everyone's composting animals, what's that deal do to the gelatin industry?
And no, obviously they're opposed to it. Yeah, they're
That
the
makes
only
sense.
group opposing to it right now. There's no environmental groups or anybody opposing it right now. We're the only other group other than the rendering companies who are opposing it. So,
Wow. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I am really against composting giant animals. Uh, I don't know. Earlier this week I sent you a thing about the whale, like the cost of a living whale or the value of a living whale. Did you check that out? That TED talk?
No, I didn't see.
Oh, I sent it to you maybe on one of our signal chats. And he talks about, I kind of watched it again on like triple speed to see if and he talks about how a living animal the size of a whale, and of course it's a whale is far bigger than a cow, I get it, but it's still a large mammal, and that they are processing carbon, they're processing like so much, they have so much carbon in us. We're carbon-based life forms, and they're actually moving the water around. They have other their poop is lived on. There's all sorts of things that the whale is doing that's valuable to the ecosystem. And then when the whale dies, the carcass, because it's anaerobic, releases all sorts of carbon dioxide and methane. And it turns out both of those things are very bad for the environment. It's bad for the environment of the ocean, but also escapes into our atmosphere, and it's bad that way again. So he goes into like the economics of it, right? And that's why I thought it was right up your alley, because he goes into how much, if we're talking about like cap and trade and how much a carbon sequestering costs and what service every animal is doing on planet Earth, that a living whale is economically better for everybody than a dead whale, and the dead whale is an economic drain on everybody. I have to say that the same thing has to be for a cow, right? Allowing a bunch of cows to die and then rot, it gives off, especially ones in pits and under sand or in these graves, they have anaerobic processes that create methane. This is bad for the environment. It's really surprising to me that more environmentalists haven't got their cackles up about this.
So are
Because
we supposed to go pick up whales that have died and render them? Like, what are you talking about?
no, of course we're not going to render them, but the idea was more like keeping them alive and not killing them and not creating environmental situations
But
that
everybody
kill them.
dies.
Yes, they do. But when you die prematurely from disease or because of lack of food, famine, whatever is killing you, if more whales are dying, whales are dying more quickly than they normally do. So if we allow them to die more quickly and we create environments that force them to die more quickly, then it puts us into a death spiral, basically, for environmentally speaking. It's a fascinating TED Talk, and he does it from this. I thought of you because it's completely unemotional, cold, hard economic facts, and he makes an animal welfare case about it, and it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and
Which is, yeah, we don't need to make ethical arguments here. Like, this is just a science-based argument, best way to make our food system argument. Because nobody cares about ethics. We only care about getting ahead and using the little guy to make profit, right? But
you say we sardonically, but I do care deeply about ethics. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Most people don't, and using cold hard kind of mathematics for these things tend to at least shed a different light on it, and sometimes a more convincing one.
So what are we going to do about all of this, though?
You
Somebody
tell
asked,
me.
is this linked just for California residents? Well, any organization, there are national organizations, obviously, who have a say on this. They can send in a letter of, through the California portal, if they're a national organization. If you have an organization that you think should get on this, send it to them. If you are a California resident, you can send a letter to your representatives as well, and you can sign your name onto our letter just to show that you support, but that won't reach the politicians. So
But
if
doctor,
you don't,
where are we on this bill? Because tell me again. Some committee is going to vote on it for
the appropriations committee, so
Right.
they're just deciding, like, figuring out how much this is going to cost
Right.
the state, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if they've been given all of the economic arguments for what really is this going to cost the state as far as infrastructure damage from the harm to our aquifer that's going to lead to potentially more subsidence, more sinking of the Central Valley. That's going to disrupt our roadways and lead to more flooding and all of the things.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. You got to watch this thing about the whales. It's right up your alley. But yeah, I mean, but after it goes through the appropriations committee, it'll be in the General Assembly and it'll be voted on. And you do have a chance to
Or
elevate
Senate.
this.
I'm not sure exactly which path it's going to take next, because
It's
I
an
think it's in this.
AB.
Well, if it's titled AB, that means it started in the assembly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it already passed the assembly. I think it already did. Now it's working its way through the Senate right now.
Well, the
And
point
it's
is, time is running out. Is kind of what I'm trying to tell people, is that time is running out, but it's our chance now to elevate this so that some more organizations can get on board with talking about this. This could be a major ecological, economical, and ethical disaster, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't like mass graves. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah. It's weird how we can't get people passionate about our government and policies being passed. You know, what do we have to get people to? What do we have to do to get people to take action against the cattle industry, or they're just going to continue to? And we have like our own little animal protection bills, like, oh, we're going to ban foie gras, we're going to do this.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, we should be paying attention to what the industry is trying to pass and work to stop it, because whether
Oh,
our
wow, you know, you
fail, like what can we do to make sure that their agenda isn't passing?
You make such a good point. I mean, as much as I love the Cargo Act and, you know, some of the stuff that that organization in Oregon and Denver are doing to try to pass bills to change people's habits and change the way animals are treated, I I think so much of our time could be spent on um, elevating these issues and actually standing up for the animals in a way that's meaningful with this to obstruct the legislation that these industries are
Mhm.
trying to push through, and they're pushing hard. It's like a ramjet going through our state, and it's constant. It's 1200, it's 12007, and I know that's those are two different governmental bodies, but still two different governmental bodies are coming after California really hard, and the animals are stuck in between it,
Yep.
and it's
And all these facilities, these cow facilities only last 30 years, and they have to build a new one. And we are doing nothing to stop them from rebuilding and expanding too. And it's like we can waste all of our resources trying to pass bans on CAFOs in various cities, but are we also spending our resources to prevent new permits from being issued to these new CAFOs and
Mhm.
making sure that they can't expand? I think that we need to direct a little bit more of our attention onto that too.
Yo, I completely agree. AB 411 is the one that we're talking about, and it's a tough one. I think I just can't imagine what it's going to look like as the temperature rises. You know, I was looking at some stats, and it doesn't seem like there's a direct trend, but as the temperatures are increasing, we are seeing more animals die. It's really hard to get a specific number of individuals, but more money and indemnity payments is going to these dairies, especially, but animal producers, and they're it's because more of them are dying. They're dying of heat exposure, and and that just means that we're going to have these mass graves every year. We're just going to bury a bunch of cows every year. How many years can you do of that before you have a major disaster? I don't
Yeah,
think that.
especially if there's flooding and such.
Well, you know there's going to be flooding, right? So year after year, we're burying more animals. Eventually, you call it 10 years, call it 20 years. In 20 years' time, you've got a 20-year backlog of corpses sitting
Well,
beneath the
they
ground.
according to this study, they decompose in 90 days. So there's not going to
What?
be just a backlog of. You don't believe the science?
I don't believe that one. I don't believe that one bit, man. I remember when they were no way, no siree. I do not
Maybe
believe that for one
I've
second.
read their study wrong, but I
90 days buried? I don't think so. Unless they're treating them with Lyme
composted.
or they're treating them with something. There's no way that they get it in 90 days. You know, they did a thing where they put it's really a nasty story, but they wanted to see, because they were trying to figure out how many immigrants who were crossing the border in the desert were dying out
Oh,
there
it
in the
says 4 to
desert.
6 months. I'm sorry.
Okay.
4 to 6 months, 9 to 12 months. Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit longer.
Most suggest leaving it for 6 to 12 months. Yeah.
I wasn't calling you out or anything. It's just that if
No,
they're
no, it's good.
claiming
Like I thought I was remembering their study correctly, but maybe I wasn't.
buried animals take a lot longer to disappear than animals just lying out there. Just lying on the ground, they go far more. Go far quickly because scavengers will eat parts of them, and the sun and all sorts of and insects and everything will get them. Burying an animal, it takes longer for them to die, to disappear. Even an animal that dies in the shade, it takes longer to decompose than an animal dying in the sun. It's a crazy thing. I only know this because they went out, they killed a bunch of pigs and they left them in different areas of the desert to see the rate of decomposition in order to get a better grasp on whether or not immigrants who were crossing the border illegally in the desert, how many there were actually dying, because they couldn't get it. They couldn't get a number how many people crossing the border were dying on the way here, because they'd find all these crazy, like, weird graves, and they didn't understand what was happening, and they determined it was because of this. Everyone was in different states of decomposition.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's weird, right? Anyway, yeah, I guess the point is, even if you do have them for you're in the ground, it takes a year. There's still going to be bones and other things left. They're not all going to be gone. You're still going to have corpses under the earth. Man, I don't know. How many years can you do that? You're going to dig them up each time. You're going to bury them in the same pit over and over again. Is that what I don't know what the plan would be. Anyway, what else is going on in California? We've got that other one, our doctor, the Prop 12 compliant. Now, as far as I knew, I thought Prop 12 was only about sows and chickens.
No, it's also about veal calves. Do you want to pull up my video, since you are the expert with the YouTube clips?
Yeah, sure.
But I just went to the Central Valley of California and investigated mostly the effects of heat stress on dairy cows. But I also came across lots of calf hutches, because right now, like, there's this crisis of not having enough replacement heifers. And so they are churning out replacement heifers like crazy in California. And I came across rows and rows of these calves, and I realized, like, these aren't Prop 12 compliant crates. Which Prop 12 compliant, like, veal crates should be 43 square feet. Which
those aren't 43, obviously not 43 square feet.
43 square feet. Because these calves aren't being raised as veal. These are being raised as replacement heifers, or they're being raised for beef. So they don't have to comply with Prop 12. And I think that's interesting, because even before I was vegan,
veal, right? Veal was, like, the devil.
I remember driving through Sonoma, Petaluma, and seeing the veal crates and the things, and my mom going, "Those are veal calves. It's so sad." And not even vegetarian.
Yeah,
like, veal was the worst thing in the world you could eat because it was so cruel. Now, if you're going to eat anything, eat veal, like, because veal is now treated better than dairy or beef,
and for a shorter amount of time. So if your job, if you're like the effective altruist mind and you're trying to mitigate suffering and harm, then you should be eating veal, because it's less cruel for a shorter amount of time than it would be these poor guys. I can't tell.
We should, like, come up with dystopian effective altruist campaigns where we have, like, a veal marketing campaign.
Eat veal, like, eat California veal, happier than a hamburger.
Exactly.
Because
happier
all of
than
these,
your milkshake.
Happier than your milkshake for sure. But I mean, I read recently it was over 90% of hamburgers are dairy cows. That there's a very small amount of hamburgers out there in America that are made of actual beef cattle or other slaughter-bound animals.
I wonder how much of that is also, like, dairy steers.
I wonder,
because beef on dairy is now just a huge thing, because they're getting so much. Although I don't know, it's like, where do you get more money, replacement heifers or beef on dairy? The money for these cows is just a ton. So,
well, yeah, I mean, they sell everything but the moo, don't they? But the thing is, here with these guys, these poor animals, it's funny because even as recently as this year on dairies, I see these lines of hutches, and I immediately thought, yeah, they must be the boy cows. They're the ones that were separated from their moms. They're going to be veal. Nope, they are replacement heifers or being raised for beef. just not veal. And so if you keep them in there longer and don't sell them as veal because it's unpopular, man, it's
I
like
wonder,
making.
I should go to the grocery store and see if you can even buy veal now. Like,
Ooh.
or is it just in like fancy restaurants? Because like I bet they make more money off of beef anyway. So it's like, why would you ever raise veal?
I bet you there must be still veal if you go to like a butcher shop in your local
Yeah, maybe
Kroger or something.
like a little specialty something or other.
Yeah, I mean, there's some weird cuts of animals, even at like Stater Brothers. Like you go to the butcher counter or walk by it, there's always weird stuff in there, tongue and stuff that's like you wouldn't find very popular, but it's there. Piglet, like every time I see a piglet in the market, I think people are eating those. Jeez, like a whole piglet. What are you doing? But I guess Prop 12. So Prop 12 was passed back in 2020.
28?
2018?
No, 2008, I thought.
2008. Sorry, you said 28. I thought I was going to say 2002. All right, 2008. So 2008.
2002 is Prop 2, right?
I think that must be it. I don't know. I get them mixed up. I was an English major, but history, memorizing dates was never my.
Yeah. 2000 was passed by voters on 2018. Sorry.
Oh, so 2018. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. It was passed in 2018. It came into effect in 2000, whenever soon, later. Anyway, it really doesn't matter. It passed because Californians didn't want veal calves being. Now, let me ask you this. Do the veal calves still have to have such a giant, like a palatial squat, like a big pad, even if they're in other states?
If their meat is to be sold in California, then yes.
Okay, so interesting that the veal farmers of America aren't coming after California to change that, or what?
I don't think it's enough of their market, really. And at most, maybe a lot of it is sold in California and produced in California, whereas the pork industry threw a hissy fit because California only produces like 0.1% of the pork. Right. And this would affect 15% of the market or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
We consume 13%, but we only produce like less than 1%. Yeah, so I guess that makes sense. It's funny though that Prop 12 has gotten everyone up in a tizzy, and again, they're coming after any kind of animal rights, welfare legislation, and I don't know. It makes me pretty angry. I mean, they always find these loopholes, but I guess this is an argument for the legislative process, right? We make veal have to have, what was it? What'd you say? 42 square feet or whatever it was.
3 square feet of space, which would be about 6.6 feet by 6.6 feet, or 5 feet by 8.6 feet.
This is what I mean. It's almost as much as like you get as a human. Huh?
That's what? What did you say?
That's almost as you get like as a human in a jail cell.
Oh, is that what is a jail cell size?
I think they're like 10 by 6, 6 by 8, something like that.
Wow. Let me chat GPT that. I'm interested. How big is a jail cell?
I guess it depends by state, I'm guessing too. I guess a federal prison cell would probably be the most like standardized.
Let's see what they say. 6 by 8 feet, 8 by 10 feet for a single cell.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm batting 1,000 today,
cells
doctor.
Are 10 by 12 or 12 by 12. I'm just thinking about my bedroom. It's 10 by 10. Cannot imagine sharing that with another person. With like
your whole life is in there. That's your whole space.
Is in there. Oh my God.
Everything's in there. Yeah.
A standard cell is usually 6 by 8 feet, designed for one, but often holding 2 people. Can you even? I think it is horrifying what we do to prisoners in this country. I cannot even believe it.
Well, since this is all beings considered, I don't mind telling you that I completely agree with you. It is obscene what we do to human beings, because what is the point of putting them in those jails for like marijuana charges and stuff like that? Like, we put them in a 6 by 10 cell with another dude and a hole in the ground to pee in. Like they had to pee and poop in front of each other.
How does that do anything good for these people? Like,
or for
to make them
humanity in general.
better? Like, even like the whole homeless situation and the homeless shelters, like, everybody should be allowed a 1-bedroom apartment that is, just your basic 1-bedroom apartment with a kitchen and a bathroom and heating and air conditioning. Like that, everybody should have that right here in the United States, and prisoners as well. Like, we have enough land to provide that for everybody. And
Yeah.
it's
And we have
outrageous
enough money for it too, because what we're doing to the homeless population is actually more expensive. The way we do it today is more expensive than giving them all living quarters. To me, that is the most insane thing. We always do things kind of backwards in this country. Let's see. It's obscene what they did to victims and survivors too. It's funny you say that. Most people do think that because they are in jail, they must have victims or they have people who've survived their violence. Most people in jail have not committed violent crimes. Most people in jail have committed various infractions, tax things, white collar stuff, petty crime stuff, drug possession, intention to sell drugs, stuff like that, moving drugs. People are in jail for all sorts of reasons. They're not all monsters. They don't all have victims and long lines of broken hearts behind them. A lot of them are just regular folk who got caught up in some stuff, and for various reasons.
And am I fighting for the rights of sexual offenders too? Yes, I am. Because we have to understand, people are not born sexual offenders. Maybe some are, but it is their circumstances. And the fact that we don't understand how somebody becomes a sexual offender, and we think that just punishing them and confining them in inhumane conditions is the way to go, does not solve the problem at all.
No.
In fact, there was recently a survey done, and they asked men, like, have you ever done this or that?
Oh, I hate this. I hate this survey. I don't believe. I've thought, since you told me this, I've thought about it.
I don't think I've talked to anybody about this, but maybe
you told me this one. I know.
Where am I going with this? What is this?
This is the one where they surveyed a bunch of men if they would have pedophile experiences, if they had a guarantee of not getting caught.
Yeah, but there's also one of like, they surveyed them, have you ever committed rape? And they go, no. But then they describe rape, and like 15% of people have done that. I'm not quoted the thing exactly, but yeah, like, checks out. Most of us have been raped, and and somehow nobody knows a rapist except for women too. Women know rapists, but men don't know their buddies are rapists. I think people who commit rape don't even realize that they've committed rape.
That I think happens a lot. I think a lot of that type of thing happens. We don't educate people enough. But back to what you were saying before, if it is environmental, even if it's 1%, like even if it's 1% environmental, let's say it's a pedophile, someone who's really nasty, a nasty person that you really hate this type of person, pick a crime, a really nasty one. If that environment, that means that our society was complicit, just 1%, that person would have been a normal society member had it not been for the environment. That means we're complicit by that 1%. And that means that we have some responsibility for not only their rehabilitation, but also for their treatment. Like, we can't just blame it all on them. Man does not exist in a vacuum. No man is an island. This is something that philosophers have been talking about since the dawn of philosophy.
And, we allow people to get away with things for so long. Like, and we definitely see this in the animal rights movement, of men who commit problems against women and who have engaged in misconduct, and they receive no correction, no countervailing force saying, like, don't do that. And I'm not talking like, We just need sometimes like a, hey, bro, stop it. And that,
Sometimes.
like, I'm not a punisher person. Even somebody who commits violence against animals, I want to know, how did that happen? We are all complicit in it. When one of us does something bad, we are all complicit and should be held accountable for it, because people do not do anything in a vacuum.
Right.
And
And
so,
until we start looking at it that way, we
mhm,
can't ever really address the problem. If we're just going to say,
exactly.
like, every time somebody crosses the street against the signal, we're going to cut their hands off, that doesn't necessarily stop. You need better signals, maybe. You
And
need
you
to
need to
figure.
understand why are people crossing the street against the
Yes.
signal?
Right.
What is the motivation to do
What
that? Are they late
image-
for work?
Right.
Is it not a big like, and
Why is everyone
should
in
it be
such a rush
punished?
in this town?
Yeah,
Exactly.
what is the deal? So I think that's, really important. I
Now,
think this whole like desire to punish is a reflection of like, uh, what if we're like angered at somebody for doing bad stuff, we don't have to focus on the bad stuff that we're doing.
mm.
And I think that's that. Oh, I get to be morally superior in this position. Another hierarchy. I get to be better than that person,
Oh,
instead of
that's true
recognizing,
too. I thought you're going a different way
no,
with that, doctor, because I was thinking more, it's also, if once we get somebody who we've determined is a criminal for whatever it is, let's go back to like jaywalking or drug dealing. We just decided those things are against the law, right? We just call them criminals. I don't consider jaywalkers criminals. I don't consider drug dealers criminals. So if we're going to put them away, and then we're not even going to do it ourselves, we're going to hire another for-profit industry to do that, so that they will take the money that they're making from profiting off of this by incarcerating people who are questionably criminals in the first place. They're going to use that money to influence politicians to make more stuff illegal, so that they can get more people into more jails. It's a
yeah.
vicious cycle. It's a system that's untenable.
So, U.S. jail population, approximately 660,000 on a given day. Unconvicted pretrial, 70% of people are awaiting trial because they can't afford bail. Convicted and serving short sentences, that's 30%. 25% of these are theft, burglary, and fraud, which are property offenses. 24% are drug offenses, mostly possession and some trafficking. 23% are public order offenses, DUIs, probation, parole violations, and 27% are violent offenses. And who knows, maybe those violent offenses, they had it coming. I don't know.
Well,
But
well, I think, okay, so violent offenses could mean anything. It could be a threat of violence. It could be a domestic issue that happens a lot. You have all sorts of things that fall under violent of offenses.
yeah,
We're
and
not talking about cold-blooded murderers. By and large, the people who are rotting away in jail are not
well,
cold-blooded murderers.
okay, U.S. state prison population. This is approximately 1.2 million people. 55% of those are violent offenses, and we're talking murder, robbery, assault, and sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
14% are property offenses. 14% are drug offenses, mostly trafficking, not possession. And 16% are public order offenses, which are weapons, DUI, and immigration.
Mm-hmm.
So state prisons, U.S. state prisons are the majority of your violent offenses. And now you have federal prisons, 150,000 people. You have 45% in federal prison are drug offenses.
How many? What?
20%,
Wait. What?
45% are drug offenses.
45% in the U.S. federal
Of
penitentiary system.
only 150,000 people, though. Like,
Mm.
when we're talking 1.2 million in
Only.
U.S. state prison population. Weapons, explosives, armed crimes, 20%. Immigration offenses, 10%. Fraud, bribery, corruption, 12%. Violent offenses, only 3 to 4% in federal prison for violent offenses. So I thought that was
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it's interesting too. And in state level violent offenses, I wonder what that. You said there, various assaults and different things. I wonder how many of those are murders, but it still doesn't matter to me if they're murderers. It's not.
I mean, I always have to ask why did they murder them though? Are they
Well,
murdering just random people, or are they murdering people who deserve it or
well, of
deserve
course.
it, under
In their mind, I'm sure everyone who they kill deserved it. I
No,
mean,
like you've seen like the serial killers who just like kill women
yeah.
because they hate women. That's a thing. I think it's a very small, well, I don't know. I don't know
Serial
how
killers.
small.
First of all,
Or your husbands who kill their wives, that's a common thing too.
serial killers fall directly in the federal penitentiary system, so that's got to be because it's a federal.
Yeah.
Of serial killers is an FBI thing, but nonetheless, I guess the thing is, it doesn't matter if like someone says you two fight for the rights of cows, want to lessen the punishment for sexual offenders. Shame on you. It's not about lessening. I didn't say lessen anybody's punishment. I guess I'm against the
I am
whole
for lessening punishment. I'll take that stand.
lessening. I'm going to say I'm against the punishment. I don't think the punishment is the point of the
Yeah.
of the
I don't think we should punish. Who are we to judge? Judge a lot
yes.
less. You be judged. But
If
we
we're not going to
can
have a
protect.
program to make them to rehabilitate, that I don't know what the hell the point is of the criminal justice system. Like, I think there's no point to just take people in and then beat them over the head for 10 years and then let them back out and kill us all. Like, that just seems like a very bad idea.
Yeah, I don't think it's effective. Like, I want effective remedies to this because I want to stop it from happening. And
yes, but there's also a bigger issue, and I know we only have a couple more minutes before we start the next hour. But the other issue that for me is that the state, the government, giving them the right to take away our rights in such a profound way, I think is tyranny. We should not allow the government to kill our citizens for whatever they determine is a crime. And you'll say, what about murderers? What about this? Okay, but what about anything? If as soon as you give the government the right to punish you like a child and to potentially take your life away from you, then they could declare anything illegal and just start taking that away from you willy-nilly. And then all of a sudden the whims of the tyrant is the only thing you're subject to. That's not a world I want to live in.
Sure, but how do we protect people? How do we protect women from being assaulted and killed? How do we protect children? What do we do there?
Well, there's a lot of things that we can do. I think the number one thing is, it's going to be so stupid and laughable, but the first thing is education. Teach boys not to rape. I think that's a pretty good start. I think that teach women how to avoid better. I think that would be great.
Give all women guns.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be totally averse to that. I mean, seriously, if women were more interested in learning the martial arts, including firearms, I'm in it. Teach them how to kick ass in school. Give them all taekwondo lessons for all I care on the public money.
Teach women how to spot red flags and how to make themselves not emotionally vulnerable to
honestly
dangerous men.
I think that in sex ed, that is one of the things that they should cover.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Like when they take you all in when you're little kids and they teach you what boys and girls parts are, they should teach you what those red flags are and what these things, and maybe boys too, not maybe 100% boys as well. Like, why was I learning about all these things? They teach you that masturbation is normal and these other things, right? But they don't teach you that, hey,
context,
yes, right. They don't tell you, hey, pulling a girl's pigtails doesn't mean that you like her. And she doesn't like getting her pigtails pulled.
No, that's assault.
Right. We need to start teaching kids this. Right. Like, I don't think they teach them that. And anyway, that's one way. I think, okay, so guns, sure, education. But I think also if people have enough, I can't say this enough, when it's really difficult for a man who is like I don't know, who doesn't really have major prospects, and he sees a rich man who's got a fancy car and $1 million, and all the women, like Karl Marx said that in capitalism, where we all become prostitutes, especially bourgeois women become de facto prostitutes because they're trying to marry up, and and it becomes this kind of gross cycle that
Yeah.
we're all. So that's a big part of it. Like this worship of wealth and the trappings of wealth is something we need to find out how to combat. You know what my solution already is, but I'm up for any solution on that too. That's it.
Yeah. Women make your own money, and like, oh my God, to be trapped by a man because of his wealth is like the worst. Or,
Yeah, or in your mind because of your wealth.
yeah. Like, oh,
And
I got to stay with this guy because or else I won't have a house, or I don't have a, yeah,
yes,
the
yes.
worst.
Oh my God, Crystal, I can't. It's something because like having been a person who I've gone through very high times in my life and very low times when it comes to my economics and the different types of people you attract. It is, as a man, very weird, especially since I'm over 6 feet. I
Mhm.
check all those weird boxes that women also have. But like when I had an Audi that was convertible and the types of women that you attract, it's creepy
Weird.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. The types of men you attract when you look like a teenager versus the types
Ugh.
of men you attract when you don't look like a teenager, basically none. And then basically, yeah, it's disturbing as a woman. I'm say that
Well,
because
you
that's
do
the
have to
only
go
thing.
out. I think that if you went out to a bar, which I know you will never do, but if you went
No,
out to a
no,
bar with you and another woman, men would approach you. I don't think that they only
oh
want
God,
teenagers.
they wouldn't. Anyway,
See what I mean? They would though. They would though. They would. All right. So we solved the thing about so veal is more ethical than most other forms of cow flesh that you can buy in the store. We've discovered that through the Prop 12 compliant crates. One more shot of these. I want to just bring these guys up. None of these are veal cows because they don't have enough space. Veal cows have, what do you say, 42 square feet?
43 square feet of space.
43
Yeah.
square feet of space. These do not. A veal cow gets 43 square feet, but all the other cows don't. Now, what's going on? Your name I saw came up on a paper that I read this week, and it was pretty interesting about veterinary schools and animals. How did you get to write that amazing paper? How did you even get all that information? Why don't you tell me what the paper was about, and then I'll ask you
So the
questions.
new paper came out in the Journal of Veterinary Medical Education, and it is a public records review. What is it? The whole title here. Let's see if I can pull it up. A public records review of cadaver and terminal animal use in U.S. and Canadian veterinary schools. And we found that we basically did a public records request of all of the public veterinary schools in the US and Canada, because public schools have to give us their information under the Freedom of Information Act or public records requests. Private schools don't have to. So we did these 29. We did 29 of 30 public veterinary schools. And ended up, I think, with 26 different protocols from these schools. And we found that 8,558 poultry birds are killed, 1,441 rodents, 906 horses, 865 dogs, 679 small ruminants, 521 fish, 386 pigs, 347 cows, 324 birds, 287 exotics, 205 cats, and 131 camelids, and 25 ungulates, and 25 non-human primates are killed every year in U.S. and Canadian public veterinary schools. And I think that's a lot. And and basically the vast majority of schools are still doing this. So it's pretty disturbing what veterinary students have to go through in order to become veterinarians. Usually it involves animal killing, unless you are a conscientious objector to animal killing, which few people are bold enough to take that stance. I think I've talked to many veterinarians who were like, I just didn't believe I could change anything. So I just went along with it thinking, at least I'll be a vet and I'll be able to help animals. And a lot of people are still of the belief that they need to do this in order to teach students how to do surgery and how to do these procedures. They need to kill animals. But medical schools, don't kill animals anymore. Like, they stopped killing animals because
Right.
I've talked to human doctors, like I talked to my human doctors about this, and they're like, yeah, back in the day we had to do it. I was horrified by killing animals. I entered this profession to heal, not to. Even human doctors don't want to kill animals.
How
Like,
weird.
I know. And so I
So weird
think,
that healers, professional healers, don't want to murder animals. How strange.
and yep, who runs the show? It's usually the narcissistic psychopaths. Like, I mean, we hear about all of the old doctors from back in the day doing horrible things, you know, testing on enslaved people, and of course the Nazi war crimes and all of this.
Yeah.
It's a majority of us are compassionate healer types, but our profession is vulnerable to psychopaths coming in and who just want to cut things open and harm and want the ego power trip of being a doctor. So it's disturbing, and we let those people run the show. Usually, in any organization that you've been a part of, who usually rises to the top? It's the narcissists.
Narcissist, or guys that are willing to throw their weight around. Women too. Like, it's funny, man. You just brought to mind a bunch of people that I've worked for, but it's men and women that are able to talk like machine guns and really bully people. Those are usually the ones that are at the top. Yep. It's disconcerting. Okay,
I've left many workplaces where it's like, oh, clearly we all know who the problem is here. It's not me, it's them. All of the volunteers are complaining, multiple reports being filed against these people, who are the ones that leave the good employees, the good volunteers.
Have you ever quit or been fired by quit because of a person, or been fired by the person, and only to find out like a year later they had horrible allegations against them and were fired in disgrace and had to leave the industry? Has that ever happened to you?
No, it's never been that extreme yet. I'm still hoping, though. I'm still hoping that maybe that will be the case.
That has happened to me numerous times, where there's somebody who's like so atrocious that I'm like, I can't be here. And then that person ends up having to leave the industry because of something that they did that was so bad that now they're so embarrassed and they're gone forever.
I've seen bits of that, snips of that. I don't know if they leave forever, or do they? It's like the onion reel of like men. I too, the hashtag I too onion reel. Did you ever see that?
No, but I can imagine
all of these men. I was accused of misconduct, like yes, I romantically pursued my subordinates, and who knew I was going to be fired for it one day? I've gotten away with this for so long. But then I knew I had this group of men who would hook me up with a new job. I called up my friend and he's like, come in, we have a new job waiting for you. That's what usually happens. These people end up going and running into the arms of all the other accused. Like, who runs the show? It's the Jeffrey Epstein types. So they all go running into the arms of those.
It's not always like so abusive. A lot of times it's theft too, like I knew. Wow. I was in charge of a major operation, and this guy, he was the assistant director, and he was like, and then his boss, the director, was always like on my ass about my liquor costs. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out why the liquor cost is so high. It's not theft at the bar. Like I'm watching, like there's nothing happening here. And I'm doing the numbers. I've got the spreadsheets open. I'm like, there's like a 3% unaccounted for loss here. And I couldn't figure it out. And the assistant director was like, always on me, telling me that all my employees were thieves. And I'm like, these guys are not thieves. The bartenders aren't thieves. The cocktail waitresses aren't thieves. And then one day the assistant director was caught taking cases of booze out of the storage cases, because people who have alcohol problems, they got serious alcohol problems, and like
Wow.
loading up his car with it, and like that person had to retire, had to like never be in the industry, couldn't work with booze anymore. That type of thing follows you around, so I guess it's not always a lot of, usually it's a sex thing, but it's also stuff like
Yeah.
that where people are like hounding you and so hard on you. I'm like, I gotta quit because of this guy, and then he goes down in
Yeah.
disgrace. Like,
Yeah. It's bad.
yeah.
But this is our paper. Back to this.
Oh, I had it
And
on. I had it up on the screen. Okay,
oh,
go ahead.
you did? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Well, I have it up on the screen now.
Yeah.
Or is it you or me who has it up on the screen?
It's
I don't
you.
know.
I was showing it earlier,
Okay.
but now it's on your screen. But
All right.
yeah.
So this is our paper, and we go into like the justifications that these schools used. And here's our table of all of the schools and what kind of animals they kill. So you can check that out and go through that.
But
And they're
Dr. Heath, can you tell me, where did all these animals come from? I want to look at where do they get all these animals? Like you said, camelids and horses and rodents. Like, get a one-stop shop for this. And who's ordering these animals? Like, are they being delivered to the veterinary schools?
Yeah,
How does
it
this all
totally
work?
depends. Some of these are willed bodies. They're people donate their bodies to the schools, or like donate them their terminal disease, and so they will be killed for cadavers or whatever. That's the most ethical way, I think, is like, this animal's going to die anyway. Let's like use them for good. Although I don't think an animal should be, if they're slated for euthanasia, I don't think we should anesthetize them, have students perform a bunch of surgeries on them, and then kill them. They should be euthanized and used as cadaver or whatever. Some of these are
That makes sense.
purchased from auctions, like they were going to be sold for meat, and then they were sold, to the veterinary school. Some of them were sourced from biomedical supply companies. So we go into the sourcing of some of these, where we can find it. It was hard to find a lot of this. Some of these are from other protocols where they were used for experiments in the school for another purpose, and then they were transferred to this. So it just varies. But the justifications that they use, the most common justifications, were that alternatives to live or cadaver animal use are available, but they do not provide an equal learning experience, which I thought was interesting and is easily refuted. Like, you can provide an equal learning experience on animals who need these procedures under the guidance of an experienced surgeons. And I think, if anything, a better learning experience can be had. The other justification was that live animals are needed for students to learn non-surgical techniques, including handling, restraint, examination, and non-invasive procedures, which is true. But live animals are needed, but we don't need to kill them, is the thing. Live animals are needed for students to learn surgery, including anesthesia, surgical positioning, tissue handling, hemostasis, and patient recovery. Yes, again, true, but we don't need to kill them. And we can learn all of those things on animals who need surgery under the guidance of experienced surgeons.
Or even like spay and neuter clinics. I mean, isn't that something? Is that learning? Am I crazy?
But a lot of people argue like, yeah, but they need to learn more than just spay neuter. Sure, spay neuter teaches you a lot, but it doesn't teach you everything. And a lot of the large animal folks say like, yeah, but we need to learn large animal stuff. Literally, we have a lot more large animals in the United States than we have dogs and cats. Plenty of them who need procedures, who aren't getting them under the current system. So we need to increase the access to care of those animals, I think.
Am I being naive to think that, like, a lot of professions in the old days, when it came to things like veterinary medicine, you would shadow a person of greater experience so that you could do exactly what you're talking about? Like, you would shadow a vet who's, I don't know, grizzled old Dr. McCrusty, and then he gets a call and he goes out to the pig farm and he operates on a pig, and you go with him and you kind of learn. Isn't that something?
Yeah, I think that's what we should be doing.
Apprenticeships.
And we waste a ton of time doing these terminal labs and that aren't providing equal learning experience. These students aren't learning post anesthesia recovery and how to manage the patient's pain afterwards and how to counsel their caretaker and all of this stuff.
Mm.
So I think that's the future. That's what we need to do more of. And I think we're not preparing a lot of students for this new world where there's many more surgeries available, many more procedures, and a lot of students are going out in the world not feeling prepared by our current education system because we aren't doing that. And I think a lot of schools, a lot of students blame like, oh, this hatred of terminal procedures is going to make us even less prepared. And no, the reason we're not prepared is because of
Yeah,
our
human
reliance
doctors
on terminal
figured this
procedures.
out.
Exactly.
Human doctors figured this out. We don't kill people in order to operate on them anymore. We don't do terminal surgeries on humans. Why do we do it on animals? Like human medicine has come so far. But doctor, there's something, of course, that kind of jumped out at me, and that was the 906 horses in this paper of yours. 906 horses seems like a lot. It's almost triple what die on the tracks every year, and so many animal welfare organizations they'll perfectly happy to speak up about horse racing, but I think we might have stumbled on another thing, that horse racing might be more humane than veterinary schools.
Or less cruel, you might say, less cruel than
Less
veterinary,
cruel,
less
yes, of
killing,
course.
certainly. I don't know about less cruel
Probably not
because
less, but
it's
still.
not really a cruelty thing. It's more of like a just killing thing. But yeah, we have a lot of unwanted horses in the United States, and they're funneled often to these schools for students to kill. So that's, a little problematic, I think.
What do they do with the horses when they're done? Or I mean, I saw. What about the camelids? What are they doing? They're going to go out and operate on a bunch of camelids. What are they doing with all these animals when they're done with them? They dump them in the trash.
Usually they're rendered, or they can be made into plastinated specimens for future use and all this stuff. Like, yeah, usually rendered though afterwards.
It just seems like a lot per year. 906 horses every year for veterinary students to poke around in their guts. And are these animals, when I see that number 906, just to get my head around this, are those horses that are killed for that purpose, or are these horses that were like, I don't know, terminal, like, because you mentioned something about like terminal ill patients that just end up in this system?
Yeah, you can, if you want to look at our paper and see the details, it's a mix of all of these things. And you can also look at the protocols themselves on PCRM's website. Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine was the one to do these Freedom of Information Act public records requests, and they spent thousands of dollars getting this information, and they made it all available on their website. And so anybody can go and look into the details of what each of these schools is doing, which I think is great. So, and then you can see a link to that in the chat as well.
Have you been able to talk with any veterinarians and get any feedback on this paper since its publication?
So far, the veterinarians, they don't really like to engage with me that much. Except for the ones who are just very positive about it. So that's good. But I did, start a sort of conversation on a veterinary student's TikTok about this. And the TikTok was just about like, is your school doing weird things? I saw this one school did like a nude calendar. What's the weirdest thing your school is doing? And I said, hey, we just published this paper and found that a lot of schools are animal sacrifices. Is your school doing that? Of course, in lab animal medicine, we refer to the killing of animals at the end of a study, sacrificing the animal. But when you call it animal sacrifices, that's somehow using polarizing or sensationalizing language. So I sort of screenshot all of these comments, and we can just kind of go through and talk about the types of things
I
that
like
these students are saying.
Dr. Crystal Heath, vet school is hella culty.
Yeah, that's me.
That's your Northern California accent coming out.
Yeah.
Find out if your school does animal sacrifices too. We just published a paper at JVME showing most schools still do animal sacrifices.
And this guy, Jay Neal, says, okay, that's fine. My livestock class all found it to be very valuable and didn't have an ethical issue with the procedure. What does that say about your culture, bro? Like, of your school, that you don't have a problem with this? And then this person said, the person I'm arguing with is grossly misrepresenting what the study they're quoting actually said. Funny. That was my study that I was the author of, that I'm quoting.
Right.
And I'm using inflammatory language such as sacrifice instead of humane euthanasia. Is sacrifice inflammatory language? Because that's the industry's
That's the
language.
industry term. Yeah.
And humane euthanasia, again, what's the opposite of sensational language? Is like a euphemism or something? Because we got to call out when they're using like euphemisms, because humane euthanasia, referring to killing of an healthy animal for your convenience, that's not humane euthanasia.
No, it is not. Humane euthanasia is for the sake of the animal. It's for mercy. This is not mercy.
Done in a kind way for an animal who is suffering.
Yeah, but first and foremost, it's because the animal is suffering. Right. I think the number one thing when it comes to euthanasia is that it's for the animal, not for me. I'm not killing the animal to get something out of it. I'm killing the animal because the animal is suffering. It's the kindest thing I can think to do. That's what euthanasia is, right?
Yeah.
But this is not that. Nowhere near it.
This person says, yes, shelter externships are a thing, but it is important to understand the procedure and to practice tissue handling. There are risks when you have an animal under anesthesia, like dying, like being killed, which is what we're doing to the animals that we purposefully kill.
Yeah. Providing
why I can't wrap my head around like, oh, there's a risk of animals dying under anesthesia, so we're going to purposefully kill the animal.
Yeah.
Like,
let's kill them.
Provide students an opportunity to practice procedures. Okay, person says students are within their right to not to do terminal surgeries if they don't want. No one is forcing them to do it. All of us understand the gravity of terminal surgery, and the faculty personally met with us to discuss it. Stop spreading blatant misinformation. Are you saying my paper is blatant misinformation?
I don't know. This person's all over the place, Jay Neal. And I know that this is a little, I mean, I love it when you see people that are pro-Palestine, but they're pro-slaughtering.
Pro-animal killing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pro-Palestine, but I'm pro-slaughter. Well, why are you pro-Palestine? Well, because those people are oppressed. Why are you pro-killing oppressed animals? These animals are oppressed. Why is one okay and not the other?
Because one's human and one's animals. And I say, well, they used to be like, some are men and some are women. Like, we draw the line at men and women.
Some are white, some are Arab. You could use that type of thinking for anything.
Yeah, of course I can't, because I'm a white person, so I'm not going to make the racial argument, but I am going to make the gender argument. We used to say women don't have rights because they're women.
I think it's perfectly okay.
We can't allow women to vote because they're women. Only men should be allowed to vote.
It's
Only
perfectly
men should be allowed to have credit cards.
for a white person to say that's ridiculous to
disagree. I do not make any racial arguments.
It's not a racial argument to say that basing rights on race is a ridiculous thing. I mean, that's an anti-racist argument.
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to compare animals to enslaved African people.
I'm not. I'm comparing them to people being slaughtered in Gaza. This person's not an Arab, and you know that they have.
Well, I'm also. I don't think people would really. I'm not somebody in Gaza. I'm not an Israeli. I don't know. I'm just staying out of that. I'm not gonna.
I hate hypocrites.
There's so many arguments to make that are specific to my gender, and I am not gonna make the Israel-Palestine one because I am not of those groups. And I think that would just derail the conversation personally.
All right, this person puts it in his name, so clearly it's his whole identity. But okay,
Well,
and
you
for
can
the
argue with him. Go on the TikTok.
No, don't
Please argue with this guy about Israel and Palestine. I am not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
I'm not arguing about Israel and Palestine. I'm just saying that oppression's oppression. If you're going to be cool with killing all these animals for funsies, it seems like you can make that argument for anything.
And this person says, and large animal students
right.
that need to know more than just spaying and neutering cats and dogs, again, they can learn on the millions of farmed animals. There are many more farmed animals than there are dogs and cats that they could learn on. And we need to do that. And then this person says, I understand your intentions with this comment, but the sad reality is that not everyone will receive great mentorship. They're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for veterinary school. They should demand it.
Right. You're absolutely right. If you're going into debt for like $500,000, some of these people, then you should get some mentorship for that, I think.
This person, you think it's needless? My colleagues and faculty would beg to differ. Well, you're wrong. Like you can learn better. And this person says sacrifices, this article states, on animals are euthanized. Procedures are done for learning purposes. They do the same thing for human medicine and learning. Fun fact, they do not actually.
They do not. Did you reply to that, or no? You're just leaving all these hanging.
Yeah, I said yes. Actually, no human medical school in the U.S. still sacrifices animals for student education.
Right. No human medical school in the U.S. Maybe in some other countries they sacrifice humans and animals for student education, but no.
This person said, I would rather my vet have practiced surgery on live animals before doing it on my pet for the first time. How many people agree with that? That they would rather their vet have killed a bunch of animals before they practiced on their pet? Or would you rather a veterinarian who didn't have to kill a bunch of animals before becoming a veterinarian?
This person has the rainbow flag behind them on their picture. All these people are standing up for the oppressed until it comes to the animals. Then they're perfectly.
Which people who wave a banner of whatever sort of justice,
they're
virtue signaling.
It is. It's virtue signaling.
Not. These people are usually the worst.
Yes.
All the people who have vegan on their thing, I think usually,
I had to take it off of mine because I didn't want to associate anymore with most of the vegans. I would rather have my vet practiced surgery on live animals before doing it on my pet for the first time. You can practice on live animals, but you don't have to kill them.
We need to do that poll. Like we should do a survey of the general public. Would you rather have your vet do terminal procedures before practicing on your animal, or would you rather them have learned on animals who need it under the guidance of experienced surgeons?
I think I would prefer them not to be murderers myself, but
let's do that poll. Let's see.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll have to work on the wording of it because yeah, for sure. Do not listen to this lunatic. We are not performing animal sacrifices. Terminal surgeries are vital for learning. Wow, someone's really going hardcore. Yeah. Particularly large animal students that are expected to be practice ready right away. I had to do my first C-section in field alone, and the only reason I could do that was because I did a live C-section in school, not a terminal surgery. Mama and babies all survived and thrived afterwards.
Thank you for proving my point, Jamil.
Yes.
Like, can we not? Like, what the hell? He's proving my point.
Yeah, I didn't kill mama and babies, everybody. Just so you know, I'm not a monster. Like, he literally had to put that in there because he was afraid of what everyone was going to say. Because as I'm reading it, I'm going, you did a C-section and then you killed the mama? Yeah. No, not a terminal surgery. No.
Like, and then is this a bad thing as a current student who got to practice 2 surgeries and running anesthesia on live pigs who were euthanized after surgery? I would feel greatly disadvantaged if I didn't have the experience of euthanizing a pig before they woke up from anesthesia. So I
Yeah.
didn't get that post anesthesia recovery experience. Like
No.
it doesn't make any sense. You
Completely
would run,
valueless at that point, right? So you anesthetized a pig, and then you killed them
kill them,
before they
and so
woke up.
you never got the experience to do post anesthesia recovery. But you think that's better than doing anesthesia on an animal who actually needs surgery
How do you know
under
if
the
you did it
guidance.
right, Crystal, if they don't wake up?
How do you Yes, exactly. How do you know you did it right
I
if you
mean,
can't see how they did?
I mean, call me crazy, but I think the reason why we pay anesthesiologists so much is because you wake up afterwards. Not
Kind of
putting
the
you,
most important part,
yeah,
right?
putting you to sleep is the easy part.
Jeez. Like,
Waking you up is the hard part. Oh my
it's
god.
so frustrating sometimes.
Imagine if people were like that. Oh yeah, I practice on a bunch of humans. I'm an anesthesiologist. I make big money. Those people make a lot of money, for amount of work they put in. And like, you're only there for a little while. I practiced on a lot of people. I killed them before they woke up. So don't worry. I'm really well practiced.
This person says, everyone in my class got the opportunity to opt out doing these terminal surgeries and nobody did. No one is in moral distress. Wow. Like, that's just like a bunch of Simpson bootlickers is what we're training. A bunch of students who do not object. Okay, we'll kill animals. There's no better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
awful.
Everyone in my class could have done it, but didn't. I mean, yeah, that's always how it is. We gave them the chance, and then we all looked at them we all glared at them. Hey, anybody want to opt out? And then we all glared at them and browbeat them into doing it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely agree on the mentorship. That is the reason I was picky about where I decided to practice. But sadly, some do not get the same or think it's going to be great and it turns out to be awful. I understand you are really passionate about this subject. Oh, I understand you're really passionate about
I'm so
not
glad you found your
killing
passion.
animals as a veterinarian.
Yeah.
As long as our cadavers are ethically sourced, which is the problem I'm saying is the ethically sourcing. I do not see anything wrong with it. In my mind, animals going to science and continuing education is an opportunity, blah, blah, blah. I want them to be ethically sourced too. And that's another problem we brought up with our article is that many of these are from biomedical supply companies.
Mm-hmm.
These are healthy animals that are purposefully bred and killed for student education, which is wrong and needs to go away.
Yeah.
So that.
Oh, your friend Jay Neal, he's really wants you to shut up. He's like, why do I assume this is a man? Jay Neal, Jay Neal.
Resort to like name calling me a lunatic, which is again, I think that's against the professional veterinary medical ethics guidelines. Like you can't be calling your colleagues names and assuming that they're a lunatic, I guess.
Yeah. Stop spreading blatant misinformation
and in defaming me and saying that I'm spreading misinformation about my own paper that I wrote.
A paper that you wrote with other authors, right? It wasn't you. It was you and a few others. He's calling you all lunatics, really.
Yeah, we're all, or maybe my interpretation of my paper
of your own paper.
Maybe he's not calling my other authors lunatics, but yeah,
you should write. Well, why don't you write a paper, sir? Jay Nell, please write a paper. I'd love to see your take on it. And for the large animal students that need to know more than just pain. God, he keeps doing that. It's the same guy. He says the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why, like, you got to go to vet schools, like all animal advocates, go to vet schools, learn your talking points and talk to the students about these issues.
What video is this under?
I can send it to you later. I'd have to look for it though. But I thought these are interesting comments for sure, to see the culture of the new veterinary students. It's quite disturbing.
Yeah.
I guess Amelia's on board, but it's really disturbing how many students just obey what their professors say and think that's good education and don't realize there's other ways to do it. Just like we have to keep pigs in gestation crates because if or else they're going to, or farrowing crates, or else they're going to like lay on their piglets and all
Mhm.
of this stuff. Well, we don't have to produce protein using pigs. Like,
Oh my God, that's
and
inflammatory. How dare you suggest something so
solves the
crazy?
problem. We don't have to use farrowing crates because we don't have to produce protein from pigs.
Barbara Sharon Glick says, keep the East out of this. Right on, Crystal Heath.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
you're
We're
absolutely right.
against killing people here. No matter whose side is doing the killing, we're against killing.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Killing
like
only
to
in
think so.
self-defense, and anything beyond that is wrong.
Yeah, or in bloody overthrow of the government. But other than that, I'm totally against any type of killing. Definitely.
Hi, feds. I'm not in favor of overthrowing the government, feds.
Oh no,
Just
I
so
said
you know.
in the case of
Okay.
no, me neither. I'm not for
All
that.
right.
No. In the case of something like that happening, I think there's a moral defense. But hey, what do you think about like? So I mean, if we have all of these animals that we're just like going through, they're just grist for the mill of the veterinary kind of the industrialized education system. Maybe a decentralized education system might be better. I know this might be a little too crazy, but what about more apprenticeships and smaller schools? And maybe we don't have the accreditation program through the who are they again? The
VMA, Council
there's
on Education.
right, there's the AVMA, but who's what's the test that you guys all take? It sounds like
The
ELAB.
NAVLE, North American
NAVLE.
Veterinary Licensing
That's the one
Exam.
I'm thinking. Yeah, the NAVLE. What if the NAVLE what if we don't do that anymore and we have smaller groups where it's like you have I don't know, the California Veterinary Association and you don't have to have some big giant one that does. I mean, you don't have NAVLE, you just have CAVLE or something like that, you
Well,
know?
we have to pass the national boards, and then we have to pass state boards in each state too that we want to practice in.
I find that
So
to be so onerous, but also wrong-headed. How do you feel about it?
I think it's good because I do think you need certain standards and high standards. And already some vets, I'm like, what are they doing? Like, it's a problem if you're graduating people who are not doing things the right way. I think there needs to be some oversight and the high standards and everything. So
But I mean, okay. So, but if you're going to have these associations that are forcing you to do this, take these who's forcing you to do this? National boards. Why? I guess in order to be a practicing veterinarian, you have to pass the national boards, and that is a federal law. I'm presuming.
uh yeah, in order to practice medicine. Yeah, I don't know what the law specifically is, but if you want to be hired as a vet or work as a veterinarian and get your DEA license to prescribe and all of this stuff, like,
You got to be on the right
and
side of Uncle
have,
Sam first. Interesting.
yeah.
See, I just because I think about this a
Or do
lot.
we here's the other side. We make it easier, and then we make all these producers are like, I'm going to become a veterinarian now, and now I'm going to prescribe all the antibiotics I want to my cows and not have a veterinarian overseeing it. And I get to castrate cows however I want with, well, they already castrate their cows however they want, but
They do it anyway. That's what I
they,
mean. All of these things
yeah.
don't really protect it. Like you said, it's really funny that you said that because you said, well, I'm for the national boards because already I see veterinarians like, ooh, geez. But if the national boards aren't doing their job, obviously they're unsuccessful. You still have vets like this
Well,
Jay Nell, who's totally cool. He's Dr.
I don't
Mangala.
think I don't think he's a veterinarian. I think he's a vet
Oh,
student.
oh.
And sure, I think we have these standards in place, but it could get worse if we don't even have these standards in place. Like, we're going to have even more reckless people out there practicing subpar medicine without, schools and some of the vet schools. Like, I went to UC Davis, the best veterinary school in the world. And then I go to some of these other veterinary schools and I'm like, geez, you guys are not getting a good education here. Like, oh, what did you learn there?
I feel like that's how anybody who goes to a UC feels. But I mean, certainly there are other fields of study that are similar to veterinary medicine where people like that people's lives hang in the balance. I'm thinking immediately of architecture, right? Where you're supposed in the old days, you were supposed to shadow an architect, you're supposed to work with a civil engineer, then you have to take tests that are national, but it's the American Institute of Architects. Why not have something at the local level that's something different? I think that, and I'm just going on a limb here, but I think that if you had like a California, you knew that California had a higher standard, then we could rely on a professional organization that was at least more answerable to the people that they're governing.
Well,
Like
we do have like the California Veterinary Board. You have to pass the California test, and then if people can file complaints against you with the California Veterinary Board. So what exactly structure are you want to get rid of the existing? What would it? I'm trying to be clear of what would it take to become a veterinarian in your ideal world?
In my ideal world, you would you'd get rid of the necessity of veterinary schools. You could still do it, of course, if you wanted to go get a degree, but you could have people be trained by professional veterinarians and have a local or state organization that could administer testing and even have programs to teach them, like unions. Unions do this, even like the bartenders union. There's no place to go. There are places to get degrees in bartending, believe it or not. You can go to bartending school, but you don't have to. You can get a job as a bar apprentice, and then you can work your way up. Before you get a porter, bar apprentice, you get trained on the bar.
Medicine is a little bit more intense than bartending.
Yeah, so you might have to do it longer than 6-month periods, but
do we want, like, who's teaching these people? We want
other
the people
vets.
but we want them to, the people who are teaching people now, like, understand in theory. I mean, it's not great. Like, we've talked to some of our students who are like, it could be better, but there's like a rigorous curriculum that the Council on Education, it says, should be given to students, and each school has its own way of doing this, but there are like set things, and I just don't know if could you do that in a more grassrootsy sort of way. It
doesn't have to be so grassrootsy, but I would say more of like an anarchistic way, where you don't have governing bodies that are from the government, but from professional organizations that you voluntarily go into. So, like,
well, that's what the AVMA Council on Education.
This is the problem with
really
AVMA,
a
though.
government organization. It's a professional organization. Like,
but the AVMA intersects with the government through things like
we just like dismantle. We just sever that tie, and then you have pretty much the same thing.
Well, you have it on a smaller level, and you have like something.
And then you have the California Veterinary Board, which is now then you sever that tie with the California government, and then it's its own little professional organization. I don't see how that's better, honestly.
Sort of. I mean, okay, so I don't know if it's immediately better. I guess the reason why I'm asking you is that the AVMA has been co-opted by industry. The educational arm, like even UC Davis, I mean, they've got the monkey labs, and they've got all the agriculture stuff. They got an ice cream store selling the dairy from the cows on campus.
And so government in theory makes it better, because if you have a professional organization that's running it, you're going to have it captured by industry, unless there's some the hope of government is that it makes it less so, but it's not.
It's not.
I don't know how it would be better if it was.
Okay, so here's
how that would mitigate this problem of it being co-opted by the industry.
Well, here's my back of the envelope, kind of my back of the envelope sketch of it. It would be something where, because it's smaller, so it's like say take California, since we both live in California, we have a professional organization that only serves the people of California and the veterinarians of California, and just because of its size, they're automatically more answerable to their members. Like right now, they don't care what you say at the AVMA. It's most AVMA.
But that's how it is now. We have the California board, and it is, in theory, answerable to its members, but the CVMA is also very much co-opted by industry too, even though it's smaller.
But if the CVMA didn't have this AVMA thing, and because if you abolish the AVMA, like I like just abolishing the NFL, by the way, but abolishing things like these large organizations that seem to have been so perverted, and they pervert everything under them. If we do sweep them away, and you have just the California VMA to contend with, then perhaps you could actually force them to do what you want and keep them from being co-opted. You could be more participate. You could participate more in the governing of your profession.
Yeah, I don't know. The CVMA is so corrupted by industry as well. Like, I just think the industry is able to corrupt maybe these small organizations too. So I don't know if that completely solves the problem. But
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, they certainly will always try to corrupt, right? How do we fight that corruption, I guess, is the question. And I think it's through direct democracy and through actually participating in the governance of ourselves. I think with professional organizations and guilds, like an operation like a guild instead of this VMA. Maybe they started out with all the best intentions, and now they're
they
well.
started out like evil,
They did.
farm vets and
They
horse
did.
vets, and yeah, that's how it started off.
Then maybe
Like,
we need to start over. I mean, what would you let's ask you then. You're the vet. Like,
no, so many people have tried to start their own veterinary organizations, and like we're doing with our honor right now. You know how hard it is to get
yeah,
people motivated and onto a new thing. So I think you got to do
yeah.
both. You got to try to support groups who are doing good work and get active and motivated, but also
Mhm.
try to change it from the inside out too. You got to do both at the same time, which is what we're doing. We
Yeah,
can't.
I guess hedge your
And we
bets.
got to
Yeah.
motivate people with thoughtful, informative content that doesn't waste their time, and actions, and get them to start to change things. Join committees. Don't just be like, oh, it's all awful, I'm not going to engage with people who disagree with me, I'm not joining the AVMA, I'm not joining the CVMA because they disagree with me. Then you don't have a voice and you're not doing anything. If you're not joining committees, if you're not commenting on these things, if you're not talking to your politicians, if you're not going out there and documenting footage for yourself, you're not making a difference, and you're just, we get what we get. We
Yeah,
gotta.
I agree with you. It's just that I don't know. I know that most veterinarians don't know who their representative is in the AVMA. I don't even know there was a CVMA until right now, and it's like it's one of those things where most people don't know who their state legislator is, who their congressperson is. It's really difficult to get people involved in these political processes. I don't know how to do it. You're absolutely right. Like tearing it all down and starting from scratch would be even more difficult because no one has any time to do any of these. Already they don't know who the hell is in charge. They're just NPCs, man. And it's just I don't know. I don't know.
But I hope
I
we
guess.
can motivate people to understand that people are working on change, and you should join us,
Mhm.
and you should help us make change, and you can do that. If you don't have time, veterinarians do have money, even though we'd like to pretend we don't. We definitely make a lot of money, and you can donate to our honor, ouronor.org/donate, and your donation is doubled through the end of the year up to $25,000. So
Yeah.
you can help us, the people who are out there knocking on doors and documenting footage and filing the FOIA requests and talking to the press and trying to make change happen. If you don't have time to help us, you can donate. Like, even if you can donate $10 right now, like that is
10
equal
will
to
10 will get you 20. Yeah, 10 will get you
And
20 right now.
people spend $400 joining the AVMA every year. Why not give that to our honor?
Yes,
That's
exactly.
worth $800 to us.
Right.
So we can make massive change if you support us. So please do support our work, and so we can keep doing this. So
Absolutely.
honor.org/donate.
Well, those were our problematic vet student comments that got us on me trying to bat at the fences and solve all the world's problems. Let's talk about Thanksgiving, Dr. Crystal Heath. Do you celebrate Thanksgiving?
I don't celebrate anything, but every year the president does this pardon
Yeah,
of turkeys, and it's
it's a big thing
always
every year.
the company, the CEO of whatever company, the president of the National Turkey Federation, whoever is the president, whatever company he works for, that's the turkey that gets pardoned. And this year it will be a butterball turkey. So we
Butterball.
plan our op-eds, we've got to plan our press releases and our investigations around butterball, and get some news about whatever the presidential pardon is happening. But also, we should know what happens to those pardoned turkeys. And for the past several years, they've gone to university programs, poultry science departments. They're
Hmm.
not just free to live out on some sanctuary. They are part of a university, and they're usually studied and whatever, or they're like just a marketing, ploy. So what if we ask for these turkeys that are going to be pardoned to go to some sanctuary where they can be
Be with
ambassadors
other
for
turkeys.
animal-free protein production and, courageous action for animals. So, if there's any sanctuaries out there who would like to take a presidential pardoned turkey to their sanctuary, reach out to us. We want to send a letter, and we want to build a campaign asking for these turkeys to actually go to a sanctuary.
Ooh, we should talk to our friend up in Petaluma. Maybe he knows maybe
Yeah,
he'll
maybe
take a turkey.
they'd want to, or,
Yeah.
I know lots of great sanctuaries. So, what do you guys think about this? Are you passionate about this? Would you sign a letter asking for the pardoned turkeys to go to a sanctuary?
It just
Um,
simply not be used. They're not going to be used anymore. They're going to be, advocates for their own brethren. If they're in a sanctuary, they could be ambassadors for other turkeys instead of being used by humans until the
Instead
day
of
they die.
just a prop to promote a poultry science department at some university.
Yeah, promoting
So
more murder of other turkeys. Let me ask you this, doctor: are you at least a little offended by the term butterball? Isn't it a little gross that they call them
I don't even
butterball
understand
turkeys?
what that means.
I
Like,
think
it's
it's like their
weird.
skin. I just think of their skin, then their defeathered carcass, like a
Hmm.
butterball, like
How did
like
butterball
butter
turkeys
bean.
get their name?
I wonder that. How did butterball turkey
Let's
get their
see.
name?
Butterball was chosen as marketing brand rather than the birds containing butter. Butterball brand was founded in 1940 by Leo Peters, a turkey farmer in Wisconsin. Peters registered the trademark Butterball in 1944. He later licensed it to Swift and Company, a major meatpacking
Swift. Who
firm.
owns Swift?
I don't. You want to say Smithfield, but that's not true. Swift. Who owns Swift now? But maybe I'm wrong.
JBS.
JBS. Okay.
The Brazilians that bribed Donald Trump with $5 million, the largest single contributor to the inauguration committee was JBS, and they own Swift.
Swift's marketing team loved the name because it evoked the image of a plump, tender, juicy turkey with
That's
buttery
it.
quality, not literally butter, but softness and succulence. Why it stuck, the word butter was associated with richness and tenderness in mid 20th century food marketing. Ball referenced the idea of a round, meaty bird. Butterball became especially famous in 1950s to 60s as frozen, self-basting turkeys injected with butter oil solutions became widely sold. Swift's turkey division was eventually acquired by ConAgra in 1990. In 2006, Butterball LLC was formed, now jointly owned by Seaboard Corporation and Maxwell Farms. The brand is so strong that Butterball has become nearly synonymous with Thanksgiving turkey in the U.S.
It's true. Butterball. I've always found it to be so offensive that they call these dead animals Butterball turkeys.
Oh, you liberals, and you get so offended so
First
easily.
of all, not a liberal.
Yeah, sounding like a liberal, getting all offended.
No, I'm not a liberal being offended by simple words. I find it offensive that this dead animal is called Butterball. I'm offended by all this marketing.
Are you gonna go cry now?
This artifice. Yes, I'm gonna go cry. I'm gonna go cry that the marketing. I don't like propaganda.
Cry into your tofu.
Thank you. Yeah, at least it'll be, the salt from my tears will impart some flavor to the tofu. So I think that's great. Maybe it'll taste like a Butterball turkey. It's just like injecting cow fluids into the turkey's skin to make it richer. Oh my God. I mean, anyway, I love the fact that it's Butterball. I can spend the rest of the year talking about Butterball turkeys and why they need to all go free. But I like this pardoning idea. We need to get a sanctuary, try to get an actual sanctuary to take the Butterball turkeys, the living Butterball turkeys. So gross.
Yeah.
I saw that Disneyland used to take them. I thought that was weird. I never saw a turkey at Disneyland, but I guess like the ones that Obama pardoned, some of them went to Disney World, I'm guessing, since it's on the East Coast, and they got like farm exhibits on the East Coast that they don't have on the West Coast. But maybe they did.
Pan Parks, Kidwell Farm in Virginia. Frying pan parks. Weird.
I forget where I've seen one. I've seen a presidential pardon turkey. I think I saw one at maybe. I want to say I saw it at like Busch Gardens in Virginia. Maybe I forget where I was, and they had these big turkeys, and they were the presidential turkeys, and people can go look at them and point and say, "Look at that! There you go. They're like a tourist thing, People like to see them." Have you seen the Rick and Morty episode with the presidential pardon turkeys?
No.
It's pretty funny. They I don't remember the entire plot of the thing, but they make it so that these animals are part of like a special cult of turkeys. They've all been pardoned, and they're like. I forget what makes them special and why they're pardoned, but it's a big conspiracy theory, and it's kind of a fun little episode. I should look it up since Thanksgiving's coming. Yeah, they're all like I think they have weapons or something. It gets so wacky. It gets so wacky with Rick and Morty.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a cool episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up, see which one it is, send it to you. So the presidential pardon happens in order to promote killing more turkeys.
Yeah.
And I read one
genius marketing, like just genius. And it's all just this, like the president plays obedient to it, and the president obediently participates in this whole thing. That's how they're so much better than us vegans. We haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, it's really funny that the president is so obedient to the industry, isn't it? He just does what he says, and it really is kind of fascinating because now the president usually does kind of bow down to industry. And one thing I'll give to Donald Trump, he's not doing that. Like, he's got Tim Cook in the Oval Office bowing to him. Like, Tim Cook's one of the most powerful CEOs, and he comes and gives him a bar of gold and a thing of, his hands are shaking because he's so nervous talking to the president. Yeah, did you see this?
He's got Parkinson's. I don't know.
I hope he doesn't have Parkinson's. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. But yeah, Tim Cook. Have you seen it where he gave him the bar of gold and the glass? Oh yeah. Like a bar of 24 karat gold that acted as a stand for a piece of glass from Kentucky, and as a promise that he's going to start building iPhones in America. And he gave it to the president, and he actually like took it out, and he's like assembling the little statue. It's just two pieces. And he talks about how this is a one of one piece. It's a one of a kind thing we've had made in America. And he's like shaking, and he puts it on the golden stand. It's he seems very deferential to the president, and it's something that I think you normally see it the other way around. Maybe Trump won't even pardon the turkey this year.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I want to like what happened with the other Trump turkey pardons? Let me ask. Hold on.
Well, while you're looking up that, you know that in America we kill 46 million turkeys for Thanksgiving alone every year, and that is pretty wild because we don't kill that many turkeys every year. I think we only kill something like 60 million a year or something like that, or 50 million a year, and 46 million of those are for
Okay.
all of the, yeah, sorry, 22 million chickens are killed for Christmas, 19 million for Easter, and 46 million for Thanksgiving.
2017, drumstick and wishbone.
Oh yeah, I remember them.
Trump joked he couldn't revoke the pardons of 2016 turkeys Tater and Tot granted by President Obama. Their pardons cannot under any circumstances be revoked. Trump expressing how benevolent the moment made him feel. I feel so good about myself. I'm going to ask which companies.
I feel so good about myself. Donald Trump felt really good about himself pardoning a turkey.
And there were peas and carrots in 2018.
The names they give these animals, it's just so degrading.
Let's see. So peas and carrots in 2018, raised on a farm near Huron, South Dakota. They really don't go into the. I think I'd have to look up who was the president of the National Turkey Federation then.
Because it always goes
came from Riverside Colony near. So it's probably like a Mennonite dealio. I don't know, maybe not. 2019 butter and bread. Butterball contract farmer Welly Jackson, located in Clinton, North Carolina. 2020 corn and cob turkeys raised by Ron Cardell, National Turkey Federation chairman from Walcott, Iowa. West Liberty Foods was the company. So I don't know what 2017 was though, but
yeah. Well, okay. I mean, corn and cob and peas and carrots, and I wish they gave them names like Frankie and Annette and Jenny and Forrest. I wish they gave them names, funny names from people, like at least actual human names, like George and Gracie. But no, they give them food names. Have you noticed that all of them were food names? I mean, but hey, I'm just a liberal crying on my tofu.
So each year, the turkeys come from farms tied to the National Turkey Federation's chairman's region, often farmed under the guidance of local growers or affiliates such as Butterball. So who will the turkey come from this year? Let's see if who will supply. Peach and Blossom were 2024 ones raised by John Zimmerman from Northfield, Minnesota. Of course, it came from Minnesota after like all the avian influenza outbreaks.
Perfect.
Liberty and Bell came from Genio, owned by in Wilmar, Minnesota. Of course, again, support for the avian influenza outbreak region. And then Chocolate and Chip in 2022 came from Circle S Ranch in Monroe, North Carolina.
Well, there you go. I mean, so what we need to do is find find someone who's willing to take them, and then push as hard as we can to try to get these turkeys saved for a sanctuary rather than used perpetually. I like it. I like this.
So do you have a sanctuary that you'd like to see them go to? Like, let us know.
Yeah.
So yeah, this year's chairman is J. Jan Drain from Butterball. So we should expect a Butterball turkey. So yeah.
Thank goodness.
Hopefully somebody is out there investigating that Butterball farm right now. We can only hope.
Hopefully someone's out there taking pictures of the Butterball farm. Yeah. Well, I'm guessing they have like show turkeys. Like they have
they make sure that they're not looking bad, and they
Yeah.
have like the special farm where they keep them all. So they're all, and they have like a whole flock of them because they want one that's like nice and docile and
Mhm.
doesn't have any broken feathers and looks big and white and beautiful and not stained and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, they do that so that we all think it's okay to eat them. I listened to a podcast a while back about how many chicken farms, because they have to take pictures of show chickens too, and they have to take pictures of these beautiful chickens, and some of these hatcheries, they have they have these photo shoots where they're treating these chickens like supermodels.
Oh,
And these
I lost you. Sorry, my AirPods just died. Keep talking though. I'll
they're
figure this out.
they're treating these chickens like supermodels. And then, does the sanctuary have to be in the USA? I mean, I think the sanctuary has to be in the USA because it's a United States tradition. USA was where they are. Yeah, I think it'd have to be USA. I don't think that they'd let us use a non-USA sanctuary to save these turkeys.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Well, just gonna go to all that trouble. I'm gonna say, hello. Can you hear me?
Well, these aren't working either. So,
well, I was gonna call it a day anyway. You want to call it?
Well, I'm gonna call it quits.
All right, we're gonna call it quits. All right, bye everybody. Thank you. Please go to
our Bye everybody.
Bye, Crystal. Go to ourhonor.org and please go to ourhonor.org/donate. And oh crap, go to ourhonor.org/donate and leave a donation. Every one of your donations will be doubled this year for the rest of the year. I'd greatly appreciate it. It would help us on the journey towards saving these turkeys and getting them to sanctuary. Thank you so much for joining me and Dr. Crystal Heath for another episode of All Beings Considered. It was a pleasure seeing all of you today. I hope that I'll see you tomorrow. Please like and subscribe on Our Honor, and you can visit me at Skyjack Morgan, where I do a show every day as well. Thank you. All beings considered. All beings considered. Bye, everybody. Thank you.